Okay, so hi everybody, I am Maryam from MaryamsMark and Company. Welcome to Side Street Gallery. These two, Shawn, Tate and Shawn, Alleyne, are our guests and featured artists, and thank you all for coming to their showcase for, I guess, living artists, because this is not history, it's history in the making, and their show is Parallel Worlds, and I'm going to be talking to them today in the Artist Talk and asking them more information about their work. You have anything you want to introduce yourselves?
Well, my name is Shawn Tate, and I'm a local animator here in Philly. I've been doing animation for, probably like almost 20 years now. I went to school here in Philly to the Art Institute in Philadelphia, and I like to base my work more off of my upbringing and my environment. So I'll just leave off with that for now.
And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Shawn, Alleyne. Barbadian-born, Philadelphia-based artist. I specialize in speculative fiction, graphic illustration, but I do a little bit of everything. I want to label myself as a creator. So I just want to express art in its multiple forms. So whether it's fashion or spoken word or what have you. And that is my side over there, obviously. And feel free also to ask any questions to it once Maryam's done. I want this to be interactive, you know what I mean? So not just us here and there's this glass. So thank y'all for coming up.
Thank you. Anybody want to clap or anything? So my first question is, I'll start with you, Tate. I'll just call you by your last name since you're both Shawns. I'll start with Tate since we're right here. Tate, can you share with us the journey that led you to become a comic book artist or artist, particularly as a Black creator? We don't show up as often.
Cool. Well, for me, I come from a pretty creative and artistic family. My father, before he passed away, was a well-known bass musician, guitarist here in Philly. My brother, he's a saxophonist, musician. He played with people like The Roots, Jill Scott, a lot of Philly artists. Both of my sisters, they sing. One of my sisters, she used to play the violin, and she also make her own customized products. And my other sister, she does sculpting. She draws, crochet, sings, make clothing. And my mom, she's a fashion designer and sings and stuff like that. And everybody knew how to draw and stuff like that, except for me when I was young. So being around them and exposed to a whole bunch of different anime during that time, like Miyazaki films and stuff like that, that kind of groomed me into getting into the arts, because I seen that my family was into it, and we used to watch a lot of old school animations and anime, like Don Bluth films and Miyazaki films, all kinds of stuff, and I just kind of had no choice but to just follow that path.
Oh wow, that's pretty amazing. And what about you, Alleyne? Same question. What led you to this journey?
Sort of similar.
Really?
I grew up where my father was always into comic books, and he liked to sketch. So one of my earliest memories is being on his knee, watching him draw, and it just sparked something in me. And I always liked creating, and the library was one of my favorite places to be. So I just grew up having all these stories in my mind, and all these images I wanted to draw. And it wasn't. I feel like what led me to this manifestation of my work is meeting the people from ETBAC. And for those of you who don't know, ETBAC is the East Coast Black Age Comic Book Convention. I don't know if y'all ever heard of it. It's a Black comic book convention here in Philly. Oh, shoot. So I was working at a place called Picnic at 30th and Walnut. And I had a co-worker, shout out to Alex Smith. He brought in a flyer for ETBAC, and he said there's a Black comic book convention in Philly. I said, a what? I gotta be a part of this. So I called the number, and Maurice Waters hooked me up with a bunch of just amazing people, and it really opened my eyes to seeing myself, a Nubian person, in speculative fiction. Because before that, I was drawing white and Asian people because that's what I grew up seeing, and I thought that's what comics were, and that's what I had to do. And it wasn't until I met those guys at Back, and they really put me on the path of like creating figures that reflect myself. So that's where I am now.
Well, and that leads into my next question, so if you're okay with it, I'll continue with you. My next question basically is representation matters in comics. How do you approach the portrayal of Black and brown characters in the theme of your own work, and what impact do you hope to bring to your readers, especially those in marginalized communities?
How do I portray it? So I'm sure like a bunch of people here, you're a fan of pop culture. So whether that's comic books, anime, what have you, and they're classic tropes, right? You know, superheroes, we got giant mechas, all those familiar things in pop culture. So I purposely try to inject a brown face, a Nubian person in those stories that I want to tell. So I create superheroes, I create stories of fantasy. So I have this one story, there's this piece, I don't know if I included it in this one, but there's a story that's is a fantasy story. And I always grew up loving fantasy. So I was like, hey, I want to do this sword and sorcery type of thing. And and the people were going to be Nubian, black, when I say Nubian, right? And then I still had the typical like Eurocentric mindset. There was the king and queen and the kingdoms and stuff. And I said, yo, what if I set this in a mythical version of Barbados? It's still the same aspects, right? It's still the sword and sorcery and fantasy and all that, and magic and stuff. But now it takes on this whole new context. So for me, it's important to take my culture, the things that I grew up with, my own ideas, and basically I put it into one melting pot. So incorporating Afrofuturism, hip hop, Caribbean culture. And the hope, for the second part of the question, the hope with that is twofold. People can hopefully see it and get inspired. If they are creators as well, they feel the freedom to be able to create Nubian characters, characters that don't have to follow the norm and have to follow like the set, Eurocentric Caucasian aspect or the Asian aspect. They can create their stuff that reflects them, and hopefully just inspire people to see some dope, cool Nubian imagery. So
that's really impactful. Thank you for sharing that.
I'm trying to do a little something.
Reaching other cultures, including your own, and inspiring. That's really a lot to do. That's powerful. What about you, Tate? How do you bring representation into your work and reach out to the marginalized community with it?
Well, it's kind of similar to what Shawn said, which is why I like the name of the event, Parallel Worlds. Like for me, when I was a child, I grew up on pop culture, like stuff from the 80s, like Back to the Future, Indiana Jones. I remember watching like Conan, all those kind of different movies and shows. And I just remember saying, like when I got a certain age, like I would like to see characters that look like us in those type of environments. I didn't want to see something that's like Bebe's Kids for us in cartoons, or us playing basketball, something like that. I didn't want to see the norm. I wanted to see us in those different fantasy worlds. So, just me, like being exposed to those type of movies and shows and stuff like that, I wanted to have something for the next generation to be able to look at and see these characters and say like, hey, these characters are cool no matter what nationality you are. I want them to be able to like look at the characters and be like, hey, I like this character. They could be any nationality and say, hey, I want to dress up as this character. So that's kind of what like inspired me and led me to want to produce more characters that look like us and be able to expose it to like all generations and for it to be relatable to everyone around the world. And one of the things I would like for it to aspire to do is like I would like to see other young Black animators get into this industry. So I spent time in like different schools teaching animation and different things of that nature. I'm glad my friend Kyan was able to come down from Brooklyn 21. He used to be one of my animation students. Same thing for my niece. She did some animation in my school, and me and my sisters kind of like taught her how to draw and everything, and her own sister too knows how to draw really well. But like that brings joy to my face to see that there's more black artists that want to get into this industry and create characters that look like us and make it for every nationality to be able to sit back and enjoy these characters.
Yeah, so you educate and utilize your artwork to be, I guess, a mirror image more so what is reality, not just like a stigma, because we have a stigma on TV that's not always healthy. So that's really great. Thank you. All right, so my next question, anyone want to add anything? Having that question that aligns with that or a comment? Tracy.
My question for both of you, what were some artists that you've seen as you've grown up? What were some artists that influenced your designs and your work?
Good question.
And your style overall?
That's your girl since that's your work.
I had a number of artists that inspired me. Let's see. I was inspired by Don Bluth, if I could think of one of the earliest. Don Bluth inspired my work a lot. For those of you who are not too familiar with Don Bluth's work, he had produced American Tale, Secret of Nim, Land Before Time. Yeah, a lot of the classic stuff that we used to see as kids, that they don't really make animations like that anymore. So I was inspired by Don Bluth. Let's see, Scotty Young, he's a comic artist that worked for manga. Shawn Galloway, he was the character designer for Spectacular Spider-Man. And like there was a lot of Bruce Tim Burton, Bruce Smith, the character designer from Baby's Kids, and he also produced the character designs for Proud Family. And LaShawn Thomas is another one of my favorite illustrators. So he had produced the Cannon Busters and Yasuke that comes on Netflix now, and he also had like a whole bunch of different comics that he had released. So these artists, and there's many more I can't think of off the top, but that like really inspired my art style. And even just like graffiti art had inspired my artwork, ancient Egyptian art, there's like ancient African art that like inspired my work. So I try to incorporate all that stuff into my work. Even like in my environment, like just growing up in North Philly, like that inspired my art. I always wanted my characters to have like a North Philly swag to them. So I try to incorporate that into my characters because I always wanted to see like what would it be like if there was somebody that came from my neighborhood in the universe that's like Final Fantasy VII. Like how would they handle these situations?
Oh, that's funny. One second, let me get the same question for you. Alleyne.
I grew up on like I said, I grew up on comic books and anime, so I'm older, so like people like John Burns, he was a big inspiration. Bart Sears is another one. Travis Charest is like one of my favorite artists. His realism is crazy. Masumini Oshiro, who did Appleseed. If y'all haven't gotten Masumini art books, anybody who's a fan of art, like get his books. Like he inspired me, and I'm going to spotlight him just because he would draw a mecha, right? And it would be like, oh, that's a cool looking mecha. And then he would break down how it works, and I'm like, what? Like, how is this possible that he knows how like his mind works in a different way. So for me, anytime I draw something, I also try to think of the mechanics of that thing. You know what I mean? So and like Shawn said, there's a bunch of other artists that Frazetta, you know what I mean? And yeah, so there's a ton of artists that inspire me, but also like Shawn said, you know, I get inspired by all things as long as you're creative and you know there's certain elements I can pull. I could be walking and see a certain mark in the floorboards and be like, yo, that looks like a face or that looks like something. You know what I mean? I want to do that. So yeah, it comes from it pulls from all aspects of life. But,
that's right.
Thank you.
I got a question.
Wait 1 second. Well, someone else is in front of you. It's a line. Harley's a line. There's a line. Audience member. What's your name?
Cameron?
Fake Killmonger.
Cameron. That's great. Oh, sorry. This doesn't just like can. I don't have an automatically canning kind of thing going. But go ahead.
so I want to know what kind of research goes into developing your work. So for example, you, Shawn, have over here a lot of historical figures. So it's like, what research went into that? And you, Shawn, over here, have the Adinkra and, you know, Nubian mythology and things of that nature. So what kind of like research goes into developing these, and also kind of what looks like to be very accurate in their description and their historical references? Like, what kind of research goes into that?
It all depends on the subject, you know what I mean? So it starts with the gem of an idea. So one of the biggest pieces at the top, the angel. So that life form is called the seraphims, and it's based on seraphims of biblical texts. So, you know, I started looking up different angels. I was like, yo, I want to create these characters that are like, they're sci-fi Nubian angels. So that, you know, it starts from there. Like, all right, let me start researching different angels and what that really means. And on the, right behind the lady right here with that beautiful scarf, the Sacredo universe. So that's my Afrofuturistic African Mecca world, and it's based on one of the Kendikes of Africa who fought Alexander the Great. So I started looking into her, and you know, what was her past like. So it all starts from, I guess, the ether. You know, there's like, or I know it could be the reverse too. I might be reading something and be like, oh, that's dope. That could be a story. But so it all varies. It never, I never set out to, you know, flip through, you know, go through Wikipedia and say this and then research it. You know, it comes from, I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like, I don't know the other professions of some of the people in here, like other artists, but you know, like if you're a baker or whatever it is you do, like sometimes you just kind of feel something in your spirit. It's intuitive, and then you just kind of gravitate towards that. Like that's how it is for me sometimes. Like I just like have this idea of something, and then it's like, oh, I don't know too much about this. Let me research this a little bit more. So, yeah. I know it's kind of a vague answer, but
Oh, that's in-depth. That was very in-depth. Not vague at all. What about you, Tate? How do you research?
I'll just start by saying, like, I feel like as artists, it's our job to kind of do our homework. You know, this way, when questions come and stuff like that, we can explain. Just like you asked, which is a great question, why we do this, why do we have this in there? So, just like Shawn, I'm not sure it's the same character, but her Queen of Maryam's, like there was historical figures like that had took on Rome, and we don't even hear about them. You know, I think her native name was Amani Sheko, and she was a Nubian queen that took on Emperor Augustus Caesar, and like they didn't even want to continue war with her. They just signed a treaty and then gave her all her demands and stuff like that. But like she was a really cool character, and it's like I know me coming up as a kid, I wanted to know more about like ancient conquerors and stuff like that, and I wanted to teach others. I don't want to hear about like just us being, you know, slaves. Every time Black History Month came around, we always hear about us being slaves or fighting civil rights. I'm like, what was Black people before this? Right. You know, like if we just come out of flowers and hey, we're slaves. So it's like, so you know, like I really wanted to dig into the history of things, and like I want to find out more things, the more deep you go. Like even like just how Shawn had tapped into some biblical content, I did the same thing. Like I did research on like a lot of these biblical figures that we hear about in the Bible, and a lot of times people hear about when you see these characters portrayed, you either see them as Arab or European, but a lot of these situations took place in Africa and the Middle East. And in the Middle East, there were a lot of black civilizations that was there, like the Tufians, the Elamites, and the Moroccans. There were so many, and a lot of them had started farming and different type of civilization stuff. You don't really hear about that. And so I wanted to like make my own, like not really my own, but like a biblical book, kind of like depicting more accurate depictions of what certain people look like in certain areas. And like a lot of times, like the ancient Hebrews was mistaken as what the Bible had called the Cushite empires. It was mistaken as a lot of the Cushite dynasties or descendants of Ham. So they would have looked a certain way. You know, they would look a certain way. So with my illustrations, I wanted to depict them like with more accurate depictions of what you might have seen if you was during that time and what they would have looked like and what this generation would look like with this race and stuff like that. So there's a lot of research that goes into it, and you know, when you learn these things, it's like, whoa, hold up, this needs to be seen. We need to see this side of it, you know. So, but yeah.
All right. We have one more question before I get back to the next
My
one.
question is extremely naive. What exactly is Mecca?
It just, I didn't know where he was going for a quick second.
So the world is going to don't know, man. We say it earlier, so we can't put it to rest right now.
He wants you to explain to what a mech is. Like a
Yeah.
mech. Okay.
So you know, Shawn knows.
This is not so it's just it was popularized by Japanese animation, and it's basically just giant robots.
Yeah.
That's all.
It has nothing to do with like way back history.
Right? No, you thinking of MECCA, Mecha, or?
That's what I mixed them up.
Right. Okay. So this is MECH. So it's think mechanized. Yeah. So mechanized. So robots. Just mechanical. But it's funny you said that, because in the same piece that I showed there with the giant mecha, the mechanized robot, right?
Yes.
The mechanical being. The fortress that they headed to, that floating pyramid, is called Mecca, but I'm spelling it MECCA, but symbolizing that place that you have that of knowledge and safety. You know what I mean? So there is, I am going to be playing with those, the homonym.
But is there a connection like way in the past with the word Mecca?
Not from the Japanimation aspect.
Yeah.
But I think it just is mechanized or mechanical. It's just short for that. So MECHA, and it just got.
Yeah, I'm a bad speller.
That's good.
No, but yeah, somebody that doesn't know. That's the whole reason we here.
Yeah.
That's the whole reason.
That's really good.
Just to piggyback off of what Shawn's saying, like a lot of things that we see now, we hear the new generations using certain terms. There were like titles that was kind of like given, like when people hear anime, a lot of times people just associate it with all animation, but it really is just short for like Japanese anime, and that was like an American name that we gave it, like anime, but they just call it cartoons over in Japan.
Right.
But the mecha kind of fall in that category as well, like it's short for mechs or giant robots that fight.
So it has no ancient history.
Not as far as I know, not tied to any Nubian aspect. No.
Let's
So
think
one is
about
robotics
Japan,
more so, I guess, and the other is.
Well, good to know.
All right, so let's see, where are we? All right, so I have another question for you guys, and whoever wants to go first, you guys can just like draw like imaginary straws. Okay, so my next question is, building a dedicated audience is critical for sustaining a career as a comic book artist and a creator of any sort. What strategies have you used to engage your fans and promote your work to the marginalized communities that we were just discussing before? The heavy, everybody, like, yeah.
Okay. So it's just a lot of like social events, even like tonight, us having the art show, conventions, comic book conventions, and social media help a lot. So today, which I try to teach my students, is that there's so many more opportunities now for people, for artists to get their work out there and have exposure. Like a lot of my clients came off of from me just going on different groups through different social media platforms. So I say social media is a big help, and just doing like being involved with a lot of different type of social events, even if it's a fashion show. I remember I did a vending event at a fashion show, and I wound up having like a long-term client just from the fashion show, and that led to other avenues and other things.
Yeah, definitely. You know, we live in this beautiful age, as Shawn said, of social media.
Yeah.
So that's huge. I always implore people, like, if you're scared of putting your work out there, your art, whatever it is that you're doing, just go for it, because there's somebody out there putting out garbage that's got like 10,000 followers. It is what it is. There's some garbage, there's something out there. I know it's objective, right? But let's be real, there's some nonsense out there. And, you know, so just put yourself out there on social media. It's free for the most part, you know what I mean? It's free. And I always tell people to create your own opportunities, you know what I mean? So you can't always wait for people to come to you. So one of the things that I did, everybody familiar with Atomic City, South Street? Yeah, the comic book store. So every small business Saturday every year, I do a pop-up with them, and it just came from me calling them and say, hey, can I vend in your store? And they said, sure. You know what I mean? So you'll never know like who's willing to help you or do something if you just ask. So yeah, create your own avenues is what I always tell people too.
Okay, that's really good. Create your own avenues
Gotcha.
and really just kind of reach out and take that step. Like, don't expect it to fall in your lap. Kind of
Don't
thing.
expect it. Yeah. But that's at conventions. Like I think Shawn mentioned it. So I love doing conventions because it's a chance to really interact with people one-on-one instead of just being behind the screen. You know what I mean?
That's
So
right.
people get to see the artist and like, oh, you're black. Okay, that's what's up.
All right, so I'm kind of going to continue, I guess, with that. When it comes to the comic book industry, diversity and inclusion are increasingly important topics, and since 2020, it's been a louder discussion with the Black Lives Matter and things like that. Are there any steps you believe that the creative industry should be taken to make inclusion more for the representation for Black and brown people? Because we're maybe under 20% when it comes to the illustration, comic book, web development world. So what steps would you suggest could be taken for that?
Sure.
So I want to make can you ask the question again? I want to make sure I'm really understanding. What steps can we take?
What steps can you suggest the leading industries can take to include more Black and brown creators and to be employed within the creative community of comic books, illustration, writing, web development, because we're within 10% of the marketplace when it comes to hiring?
Well, I can't speak for those companies. I mean, what I would like to happen.
Yeah, like
What?
suggest.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like. Because I don't want to be that person. You know what I mean? I don't want to. So oh yeah, we live. I keep forgetting too. But I feel like. I feel first of all, anybody here. That's it.
It ends here.
All right. Okay, all right. We won't.
No, stop.
We here.
I love it.
We're not,
I love
we're
it.
not ready.
We here,
We're not ready to do that.
We
We're here.
Good.
So
I'm gonna follow up too.
listen, I'm just playing. I'll say whatever the fuck I want.
I'm Maryam Muhammad. I come with the banger.
Sorry. All right. So anybody here that's a creator, the thing that I always suggest is do your own thing. Like I grew up drawing. I still love it. I still do fan art, and I love. I want to see my interpretation of these characters. I got some Thundercat redesign. I think it's pretty sick, but I want to put my own stuff out there. So I feel like the only way that the industry is really going to change is for people to see, like, we don't need these characters. They're great, right? I love me some Spider-Man and Daredevil and all that. At the same time, I want to see what else is new. If I see one more damn Spider-Man movie, or where they're just retelling the origin, you know what I mean? Or like, I get it. The last Batman was dope, but I'm a little over it. Like, you know what I mean? We need more stuff, and I think people are only going to recognize things when you hit them in their pockets. Like, the more that you put out your own material, the more that they're going to start to recognize, like, oh, these are the characters that exist, these are the creators that exist. You know what I mean? So make your own, Definitely, I think is a thing to do. And you know, stop supporting garbage. Stop supporting garbage. I mean, listen. Every now and again, we need a little escape, right? I understand. That last Fast and Furious was trash.
The last one?
The last one? The last few. But that one especially. Yo, Fast and Furious. Nonsense. The last few. Yo, like, I watched that and I was angry. I'm watching it like, what?
We having a good time watching it, man. We be laughing like.
It's a comedy. It's comedy.
This car just go.
I'm just waiting for him to say. I just want him to say Dom has superpowers. Just stop pretending. Pretending. Just say he has powers. Bring in the Avengers and cross them over and then.
Family did not do that.
About to cross them over with Jurassic Park. I'm not even joking.
And the Transformers. I'm waiting for it. You know what I mean? So I think, you know, one of the things that kills me is that people say they want these characters, but then when we put out these characters and we have these art and we're at these conventions, you know, and like I said, I'm guilty of it. I have fan art at my table at conventions, right? I have somebody come up and they're like, oh, are you the artist here? I'm like, yeah. Oh man, is this your book? Yeah, tell me about it. Oh, it's a street team, it's all independent characters, you know, we do this, we do that. Oh, that's amazing. Let me get that Hulk. I'm like, and I sell that Hulk. I'll sell it to them. You know what I mean? I'm being honest. But one of my goals is to eventually ease all of my fan art off my table. I might still do it because, like I said, I love these characters, so I might do them as in the form of art books. Yeah. But if you say that you want to see new characters, if you want to support the artists, do that. Yeah. And support indie characters. You know what I mean? Like, you know. So there is some onus on the consumer as well.
Mm. Yeah. So our community.
The community. We have to start from within. Is how I'm interpreting that. Yeah, I'll go to back. I'll buy books that even if I know, like, okay, may not be of a certain level or whatever, I'll buy it just to support that person. Just to be like, yo, you know what I mean? Like, and then I might hit them up later on and be like, yo, fam, this was dope, but you know, maybe if you tried this or get an editor or whatever, you know what I mean, to give constructive feedback, not just tear them down or whatever. Right. But you know, you gotta put your money where your mouth is and support the people that's out here really trying to do something different. Right.
Mm-hmm. Sure. So I hope that as we all are listening, because there's a good amount of people in here live with us today, that is something you'll take home to yourselves with your community, and you'll actively put that into your lifestyle and really buy art that is really reflective of us. But it kind of just backs the questions from earlier. They make art that is mirroring us. However, are we purchasing that art to ensure that we're bringing it into our homes and we're the reflection for real? If that makes any sense. And a lot of times, the bigger industries that are paying these thousands, hundreds, millions of dollars to create that big movie will back it if we're already buying it. You know, they're buying dollar, they go into commercialism. But if we're not even buying it ourselves, how are they going to feel as though they can support it from the back end as investors? If that makes any sense on the math side? Right. Yeah. You have a question?
So I have a question for you, Shawn, number one.
Tate,
number one.
Look, I rock with you heavy. Don't get me wrong. I rock with you heavy. You called him Tate Killmonger. I called you Dr. Voodoo. Alright. Oh my God.
He had a name for me too. He had a name for me too. I like it. What you call me? Emo Charlie Brown.
Alright.
So from there, he got me too.
Alright, but my question for you, right? So, with your near conclusion of 15th Street Shorties, what's your next project?
Oh man, that's a good question. So, for sure, what I want to do is, after I finish the comment for 15th Street Shorties is, and thanks for asking that. I forgot to let everyone know I have a comic that's about to drop called the 15th Street Shorties. God bless you, man. I appreciate you. All right. But after that comic, I want to finish producing my Old Snap series, my animated Old Snap series with a small team of animators I'm working with. Dre, he was here earlier, but he had to leave. He works for WHYY. My man Cubbo over there, I went to college with him. He was helping with the project as well. But yeah, that's my next project will be like making a little short pilot episode of the Old Snap animated series, which is about pirates that sell hair care and skin cosmetic products.
Mom.
Pirates
Right.
At what age did you consider taking art serious? And did you ever think you'd be where you are today?
That's a good question. Before I answer that, right? Because that's a great question, right? Did y'all want to respond to the other question that you asked about the media, or should I just leave that alone because I don't want to destroy everything. Like everything gets shut down if I answer. I want to go down on the boat with you, right?
Devious.
So
You're not going down on the boat.
Right.
You're not going down on the boat, but you're going to open up some eyes and
Yeah.
hopefully open up some wallets so that the power of the dollar can really strengthen what we're doing as Black and brown people to be on that bigger screen. So please don't add a negative connotation to ensuring that people are recognizing what you're doing as creatives.
Right.
Keep your power powerful,
Yeah.
and hopefully the impact of financials will really good, because it
Yeah.
works that way. I mean,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
math
that's
has
true.
to be mapping in order for those box office to really
right.
embrace us. You know, we had to fight to get into everything. We had to fight to learn to read. We had to fight to learn to go to school
Yeah.
and integration and all of those types of things. So if you don't think that we don't have to fight in order for ourselves to be shown up in the different cartoons, animations, and comic books, recognize the history that we already have overcome and help us overcome it by ensuring that you're clapping for it, you're purchasing it, and you're inspiring it.
And you're
So-
not
so
purchasing
you're-
it at a discount.
It ain't nothing sexy about asking for no discount. It really say that out loud. It's nothing sexy about asking for no discount, y'all. Like, especially when you're like trying your best to create your own entity. It's just not cute. It's not romantic. Like, so yeah, but keep it in the power of inspiring more people to want to make representations matter. So answer the question. What's your
Yeah. So I don't think I would. No, I only say that in a playful manner though, like being shown like other artists like that's been in the industry for a while. We got like our own inside jokes about like how the media betrays certain things and stuff like that. So only saying it like playful manner, but I'm laughing because my wife looking at me, she's like, "Shawn, keep it keep it simple." But no, I'll just say this: like as far as the media goes, like there's not, just being honest, there's not really much you can do about it. Let's just be for real.
Yeah.
Like Shawn said, I thought it was a great response. Like, if you got ideas for projects, produce it. What I don't like seeing in the media is where they take characters that were either white or Western, whatever, and they make them black.
Right.
I think it's enough of that. You know what I mean? Let's see a new character. Let's promote a new character. Don't take another character and turn it into somebody else. You know what I'm saying?
Miles Morales.
What? No, Miles
Morales is cool, but technically he was another character. Miles Morales was another character, but he is Spider-Man. You know what I'm saying? And we have a lot of there's a lot of superhero characters that are black that's out now. But I only said it's to encourage people create that. Like how Shawn said, create that character. One of the things that I remember happening years ago, back in I can't remember, it was maybe early 90s, late 80s or something like that. They had a series called Shaka Zulu that came out, right? And it was made by a South African. It was made by a guy who was South African, and of course, when you see him, his features and everything, most people consider him Western or European descent. So this guy produced this series, right, which was a very good series. People learned a lot about what happened and stuff like that, and he was called to the council to be questioned about why did you make this, why didn't you have that in there, right? The Council of Black people, I don't want to say what group that was, but anyway, he was called into the council and they was questioning him, why'd you do this? Why didn't you do that? Why didn't you do that? And my thing is, Why don't y'all produce that? Y'all get on his case. He was the only one that had made a series first about Shaka Zulu. So y'all jump on his back in the way he did it. Why didn't you guys do that? Or why didn't you question people when they make a series about what I consider buffoonery? I'm not gonna say nothing. Why don't y'all question them people that are black and producing these things that's making us in like silly situations and stuff like that, where we can see like a black person that's in a situation like Back to the Future or something that's like Indiana Jones. You don't mind when they're making Soul Plane, but you know what I'm saying? But you have a problem with somebody making something about a black historian conqueror, and now he got a question because he, you know, his descent wasn't what we consider African or black or whatever, you know? So that's how I feel about the media. Like, I would like us to not keep taking other characters and making them black.
All right, Mom,
Right.
can you repeat? I'm sorry.
Repeat your question, I'm sorry.
What age did you decide to take your art serious? And did you think you would be where you are today?
Okay. Is this question for me or
Both.
Shawn number 2 here.
Shawn A.
you make them into a zero?
It's weird. I can't pinpoint a certain age, but I knew I always wanted to create, and it was just one of these a journey of some ups and downs, and I wasn't sure it was going to happen. So I came to America in '93, and I knew I liked to draw, but at that time it was like my father was like, there's no money in comic books, you know what I mean? Get a job, pay some bills in this house. That's all he said. No, he literally said that. And the next day, because I like to draw, so when I came here, they said, you should be an architect. You know what I mean? There's no money in comic books, but that's prestigious. And I went to this technical institute school, and they were, I couldn't get in because of my immigration status at the time. So I came home and I was like, yeah, Dad, I didn't get in. He was like, get a job, pay some bills. The next day, he went out and got me a job and charged me rent. He was an old school Caribbean man, so he was like, yo, you gotta work and pay bills in here, right? And so I got caught up in like just working in American life and stuff, and just the art fell to the side. But I always used to dabble, and then it's like, I went through like different jobs, drawing inside, but and then I had these moments like meeting the guys at ETBAC and going to comic book conventions, Nubian comic book conventions, black comic book conventions, meeting people like Shawn and grounds up, other like some pitfalls, having to pay bills again and stuff like that, you know what I mean? And so back off of something you said, Shawn, which is so important too, that you have to stand your path, right? So the piece up there, the one with the black frame and the guy with the purple smoke, so that's from the same universe, that giant mecha set cradle universe, right? And there was a writer. He came to the Zion meeting, right? He was like, he said, Shawn, this is amazing. What is the story? Oh, this is dope. We got to do something with this. I was like, yeah. He came back and he said, Shawn, I got an investor for you. This guy's an African guy. He wants to put money in this project. I was like, oh snap, right? So accent, dark skin, you know what I mean? Like he was the real deal. And he said, yeah, Shawn. I said, cool. He said, the only one problem. We should probably make the lead character white. I said, huh? What happened? He said, well, Shawn, we got to think bigger. We got to think universal. You know what I mean? We got to make it commercial. I said, no, you're playing, right? Like, no, it's not. We're not going to do that. He was like, Shawn, no, you got to think bigger. I said, well, the meeting is over. It's cool. It's no problem. We good. And I went home and I did something where every time he uses his power, he gets darker. Because I was like, no, I'm going really good. Like, you know what I mean? He's probably going to start off like brown skin. But no, I'm serious. Like I'm going to start him off like he's regular, but when he powers up, he's going to be even darker. You know what I mean? Like just I'm like, what? So you gotta really stand your ground and know what you're fighting for. This is a fight. You gotta know what you're fighting for, and you can't let other people come in with the commercial bullshit and persuade you and shit like that. Sorry. I gotta work on my cursing. I'm sorry, but so it was a journey, I haven't made it yet. I still got a lot of work to do. There's still so much I gotta learn as far as art. So many stories I want to tell. You know what I mean? So much stuff I gotta put out there. So I just know it's better than. I always say this. I don't know if I even said it earlier today. My worst day drawing is 1,000 times better than doing anything else. I could wake up miserable all day drawing and be happy. That makes sense, you know what I mean? So, yeah, that's how I look at it.
Snap. That's inspiring. Okay. Tate, Tate, you have to answer your question.
You ignored it. He's number one.
Look, if I were to know.
So, right. Let's see. What age did I take it serious? I have to say maybe between like middle school and high school. That's when I took it serious. Because I remember it was a couple of people that came up to me, Rick being one of them, my brother, saying like, yeah, you know you could do that for a living, right? And I was like, oh yeah, because I used to make these little silly, goofy comics that was based off of like Akira Toriyama style characters or whatever, like Dragon Ball and all that. And like, I really thought I was doing something, you know, and then I started getting better in middle school. I learned how to color in my artwork and how to color with shadows and stuff like that. And I guess everybody started seeing like, yo, Shawn's like really serious about this whole cartoon stuff, you know, because he's making all these cartoon illustrations and comics. And I remember it was my brother and I think it was a teacher, and he was basically telling me like, hey, you know, you could do that for a living. So from there on, you know, I was just like, you know what? I want to be an animator, you know, because I want to make more cartoons and see myself in these different cartoons, you know. Like I grew up on like a lot of Japanese anime, and I always wanted to see our characters in those type of situations, you know. Like I've seen some of the greatest anime like Akira, a lot of old school, real old Miyazaki films like Nausicaa, Valley of the Wind, things of those nature, you know. So it was like, you know, it would be cool like if I seen someone that looked like me, you know, in it, you know what I mean? But it would be for the world, everybody would get into it, you know. So and I was never really good at like other things like basketball and dancing. So I was like, hey, listen, I gotta make a way for me to be able to I'm just saying, like, that's the stereotype. Like, a lot of times people see me, you know, they always say, hey, you know, they're like, hey, my son was playing basketball there. I'm like, oh, that's cool. All right. I'm never good at those things. So I was like, you know, I got to make a way where, like, when this stuff is out there, you know, I can fit in with this stuff, you know what I mean? So,
Make your own way.
yeah, make my own way, you know? So, like, yeah, so that's what it was. That's what it was for me. Like when I was at that age, I was like, I want to do this, pursue this as a career. And I think it was like high school, the end of high school and like college. I was really animated about like getting things out there where people can see us in those type of universes. That's like Final Fantasy or something like that. And you know, did I ever think that I would be in this situation? It's kind of hard to say. I kind of felt like I would be where I am now. You know, I just wasn't expecting to be teaching at such a young age. I always looked at myself working in the industry first and then come back and teach. But like, it worked out opposite, you know, and I always look at it as like, you know, God directed my path, you know, so I always try to do what is in His will and let, you know, God be the lamp of my feet. You know what I'm saying? So like, I wound up working with children at a younger age and stuff like that, and it worked out because a lot of my students that went on to, some of my students went on to be like animators or graphic designers and stuff like that, and you know, I'm happy to see that. You know, it wasn't what I imagined. You know, I thought I would be in the industry still working and stuff like that, but when I did my internship with one of the Nickelodeon sub studios, I was like, you know what? it's a lot of agendas going on. Maybe this is not really for me. You know what I mean? So, I just thank God that He put me where I'm at right now, and I'm satisfied. I'll be content with that. So I'm happy with it.
Young fellow on the floor, what is your name?
My name is Kyle Ramsey.
All right, now what is your question?
All right, for Shawn's both X and Y, decide amongst yourselves. So, including projects that have yet to be finished, which one out of them, that was a very redundant statement, would you consider like the one that you put like the most emotional investment into? Or like which one you would consider like your favorite amongst like amongst your pieces?
Favorite among the pieces?
Sure.
You mean stories?
Yeah.
However you want to
Emotional
interpret the question,
connection
sorry.
also.
Emotionally connected. I would say, so the one that I'm probably the most emotionally connected to that I'm developing right now is called Paths of Bimshire. And Bimshire is the ancient name for Barbados. So that's the one that I told you, like the fantasy one that I'm working on, because it's a story of a little boy and his dad. And so it's an ode to my father, because just as a callback to my dad saying there's no money in comics, he had a job. It ended up him getting deported, right?
What was the...
He was doing foolishness.
What was the
He was doing foolishness. He deserved it. He was doing nonsense. And he got deported, and then I didn't see him for like 10 years, right? So then I said, I got the opportunity to go back to Barbados for a comic book convention there. Come to find out that it's a comic book convention in Barbados, right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was huge. And my mom was who told me about it. And I said, shut up, Mom, there's no such thing as a comic book convention in Barbados.
You see it like that?
I didn't say that. And, yeah, I contacted the organization, and I remember they were like, so this is tying into a lot of things, right? About creating your own path. They were like, oh, I told them, hey, I'm a Barbadian living in America. I just found out about your convention. They were like, oh, that's great, da da da. Hey, listen, would you mind like helping us? Like we're trying to get guests and stuff for the convention, right? I said, sure. Then I said, what can I be a guest? What the hell? And I asked them, I said, yo, can I be a guest? And he said, sure. And they flew me back and everything. And I told my dad, hey, I'm coming back to Barbados. You know what I mean? I want to see you. And I hadn't been back since I left. And I don't know what, for real. Like, it just was like, that's my old life. Like, America's my new life. But I said, hey, I'm coming back to see you, to be there. I want to see you, right? So, day of the convention, I get him in, and I told him, like, hey, I got you a ticket, just come in, right? And he comes up to the table, and there's all these people gathered around me looking at the art and going crazy and stuff like that. And he comes up, he's like, you drew all this? I said, yeah. He was like, okay. I taught him how to draw, right? It's me right here.
As a black dad.
Yeah.
And what was the name of this piece? Like one more time?
No, the name of the piece is, the story is called Paths of Bimshire. So in this world, like, everybody's born with a path or a power, and there's, it's going to be this kid, and it's, seems like his power isn't that good, and his father is like the manly man. He has the path of the hunt, which is like, you can hunt, track anything, kill anything, boom, boom, boom. And then, they have to go on this journey together, right? And I wrote it especially because the next year, my father was killed in a hit and run. So, right. There's the awe. Not the deportation. Like, that was nothing. That was, no, thank you. Yeah, so, but, I always cherish the moment that he was able to see me doing what I love and stuff like that. So you got to keep on it. And so that would be the story that I guess has my heart the most. I'm going to dedicate to him.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Tate, what about you? Same question. Good.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Emotionally connected, just one.
Just one. Connected or my favorite?
Emotionally connected was this question, that you put the most time
I also
in
said
emotionally.
favorites. Whichever Whichever one you prefer.
One or the two.
Okay.
Can't have both.
Okay.
Spin in the dice.
Can I say, all right, I'll just go with the one that I think is the most important.
Okay.
I would like to do the most important one that I would like to get out there is my biblical one. Because I really believe that salvation is something that's important. And one of my intentions with my biblical comic is to be able to show something, take certain stories from the Old Testament, stuff like that, and put it in my comic form or illustration form where people can look at it and be like, wait a minute, this is in the Bible? Like, yeah, it's in the Bible. Check it out, because I know that a lot of the things that people hear now is a lot of the New Testament stories, and they see it on TV and stuff like that, and that's cool, And I think nowadays what we're seeing is people are kind of numb to it. So, like, I think it would be really cool, especially going into like a convention setting where people see a comic and it's based off of like Old Testament scriptures, and they see like the action and things that happen in the Old Testament, and probably inspire them to want to pick up a Bible and actually read it for themselves and look and see what's in it,
What's the name of that particular project?
Right now, I'm just calling it my biblical comic. I didn't really give it a name just yet, but I don't want to name it Bible comic. I don't want it basic and nothing like that. I want to have like a name. Right. I want to have an actual name. I would like for it to inspire people to like read it and actually go to the Bible and see what's in the scriptures.
So before we ask any more questions, I wanted to ask you all to do them two both a favor, since they share with you a project each. Can you follow them on their Instagram page so when they're at the next part of this journey, you are more than aware of what's going on? So he is Shawn Anime, and he is Polygraphic One. How do you say it? He does better at it.
Shawn Anime?
Shawn Anime. Shawn Anime.
Yeah.
Yeah, spell it.
SEANIME.
I'll see everybody with their hand. They got
Have a
your
QR code for
phones
them.
up
Is
and the
that line
Instagram.
available at the state store?
I don't know. I want to see everybody just take a minute with your phones. Follow them both, please. And follow Side Street Gallery.
And Pyroglyphics, PYROGLYPHICS.
I'm gonna be 22 to follow you.
Oh.
PYROGLYPHICS.
Tracy.
Yeah, I was trying to get some
The QR code. The QR code.
Is
It is.
Oh, that's dope. I should have.
Oh, one last thing.
Wait, Shawn, Tate, you have one of those? Shawn.
I do not. That's why I'm number 2.
He says I'm number 2. P what?
PYROGLYPHICS 1.
Wow, people are following, watching. How y'all doing out there?
Shout out to the other talented artists.
We give it a center.
Consider it.
Yeah, it's kind of.
I thought I was following.
It hurts. Because the.
I think you're okay.
And you can see both your work a little bit.
What was the name? What was the name before?
Shawn Anime.
I said no.
Shawn Anime.
No, that's.
Alright, just I called you a lot of names. So you got Shawn 2. And then
This is like an
and then
intermission.
either Shawn X or Shawn Y, depending on like your
I
preference.
thought it was more along the lines of the Shawn. That's dope. That's dope.
It was a fit. I appreciate it. Like, it looks dope.
Everybody's followed.
I don't
Everybody.
believe
Can you
it.
follow Side Street Gallery
Feels like-
and MaryamsMark? We're all friends now. All right. So I believe. What was your name? Not when he called you. Cam, ask your question.
Cam Walker.
So reading inspiration, things of that nature. What comic book panel, both the dialogue and the art, had the greatest impact on you?
Oh, yeah. That's a hell of a question.
No, but that's a really cool question.
It is. It's hard.
Combo panel.
Don't do that.
Oh, okay. I'll go.
Man.
All right, so there was, and I know this is going to be wrong because there's so many different comic books. As artists, right, we come across so many different inspirations. So it's hard for us to pinpoint one. Like, we would tell you one, but when we go home or remember another one, we're like, no, it wasn't that one, it'll be this. But if I could think of one off the bat, Shawn Thomas, right? One of his comic book panels, right? This one never was released in his comic because he never finished his Cannon Busters comic. But he did release some pages for the book that he was going to come out with. He was going to come out with like a full book, so he stopped releasing volumes of it. And he was going to make one big, I can't recall an anthology. It was going to be one big graphic novel, pretty much. And he had this one page that looked like it was like a Disney animation. And that panel really made me, it inspired me to try to make content that looked like, if you used to take one of the panels and make it into a picture, it would stand alone, it would look good as a standalone picture. And the one with the girl with the blue hair with the baseball gear on at the top, that's actually a comic book panel for me in that aspect. Like, I wanted to be able to, and even like Disney, some like a really old Disney animations, I was like, if you used to take one of the frames and make it into an illustration, you know what I mean, could it work? And a lot of Disney films did that. Like, you could take any one of their frames and make it into like a, take one of their like frames as an animation frames and put it in an actual frame. And it will stand alone as like an illustration that can sell. And the Shawn Thomas comic book panel had did that for me with the pages that he never released in his actual book. So.
Yo, that's an excellent question, Cam. I don't feel like I've ever heard that in any interviews or anything. So it's tough, but is everybody familiar with Larry? He had a book called Tribe with Todd Johnson back in the day, and it was when Image was first coming out. It was like maybe the second wave, right? So you had, you know, the Big Seven, you had Wildcats and Wetworks and all those guys and Savage Dragon. But they came out in the second wave, right? Tribe was one of the first comics that I remember being drawn and written by a Nubian team and featuring minority characters, majority minority characters, right? I think there was like one Caucasian character in the book, and it was like a robot or something operated by a Nubian kid. But there's a panel, there's a villain, and I forget his name at this point, right? There's this villain in there, and the way they portrayed him was that he was this street type of person, cocky, you know what I'm saying? Though he was speaking in slang. And then he walks away, and he says some kind of dialogue, and he come to find out he's very articulate, you know, he's highly educated, and he was playing a role to use these people. Like, he was like, oh yeah, that's what you're accustomed to, right? That's what you think it is. But he had this whole plan going on, all, you know, otherwise, and it always stuck with me because I feel like something that Shawn said earlier as far as like, oh, you dance, right? Or my favorite is that, he's from Barbados, right? You smoke weed, right? I had somebody say that to me one time. And, you know, it always struck me like, you know, that you don't have to be the thing that people think you are, or portray it. Or even if they want to think that, you know what I mean, it's okay to let them think that, you know what I mean, as long as you know who you are. So that, it just made me like really dive into the memory banks on that one.
Thank you.
So, yeah, but so if you haven't heard of Tribe, check them out. It's a dope book. Unfortunately, it only lasts like 5 issues, then Image canceled them, you know, politics and all that type of stuff. But they're supposed to be coming back out, so hopefully they will. Right.
Thanks, Cam.
Thank you so much. That's not his name, but anyway. Why did I get so offended right now? Person on the floor, shut up. Anyway, all right, so I have one more question before we wrap. And if you all are with it, when I usually hang out with some of my other comic book friends, they usually gather a whole bunch of people and then they take like a selfie together with the moderator. So before you go, I would love to like steal Buddy Calera's idea and do that. But I have one more question before we close, unless you guys have a question. Do you have a question before I ask the question you want to ask?
Oh, one more question.
Go ahead. I'm not
How has hip hop informed your work in any way?
51 years now of hip hop success.
Sure. You're asking like how has it like influenced? I'll say it definitely has. I know just by like the culture of it, I wanted to incorporate that into like the way my character's personality is a little, you know. So like, I would say like, I don't listen to certain rappers anymore, but my character Gunstar was actually inspired by Cassie, he's a Philly rapper. Yeah, and like one of the things I liked about Cassie is that he kind of showed I want to create like a character that like kind of captured his personality, but put them in like a universe that's like something you see, the Wizard of Oz, basically. Yeah, so I took that character and he's like in a Wizard of Oz / Alice in Wonderland type universe. But because of that, his Cassie style of music and stuff like that, I liked that sound at the time, and I had incorporated it to that character. But I don't listen to Cassidy now, just so you know.
So when it comes to like Sisters of anime, how did that do anything?
Well, Sisters of Anime was just pretty much, I just wanted to take like black characters from different Japanese anime and put them in one picture.
But not reflective of hip hop.
No, not necessarily, because I didn't create those characters. That's really like a fan art piece, actually. The Sisters of Anime one.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
Okay.
like they're not my characters. I just wanted to take them and draw them my art style and put them all together from different Japanese anime.
I thought they were like a group, you know?
Those are extras from one anime.
You win a prize?
Sure.
All right.
So for that, I had an interesting discussion with a friend of mine the other day about hip hop versus rap, right? And rap being the overarching genre, right? And hip hop being an aspect of rap, right? So, and you can believe that if you want, he convinced me, right? Because I think people intertwine them and get it confused. And I think it's more important than ever to have that separation, because then we can really analyze what hip hop is and what it represented, and where it came from in the community and what it's supposed to mean. And then we can have stuff like a Drake, who I consider hip hop. And I'm not necessarily saying that as a diss, you know what I mean? But Drake has a place, you know what I mean? He's commercial, right? And there's a certain appeal. And there are times that he has a certain, every now and again, I'm like, that was a hot line, Drake, I get it. Overall, hip hop is different. So it's more about, like Shawn said, a feeling. It's about, it goes back to the fashion, the style, the flair, your energy. So that has influenced me, because even though I grew up in Barbados, which is heavily reggae, dub, calypso, soca, I was one of the few people like in my school, in my area, that like rap, and back then I think rap was more like, rap. But anyway, I was one of the few people that like hip hop. Yeah. And so that has influenced me in terms of like, when I'm even like, though you said, Shawn, like those are from different anime, different Japanimation, the way they're standing to me has a hip hop feel. You know what I mean? Okay. So there's a certain vibe, the angles, you know what I mean? The hand gestures and stuff like that. There's a certain energy that I try to have in my pieces that influences. The two pieces at the top, the street royalty, the cards, the playing cards, you know what I mean? Definitely inspired by hip hop and the fashion aspect of it and the look, you know what I mean? Cool. His crown tilted a little bit, you know what I mean? Got that little energy, that little swag and shit. So, you know what I mean? That's how it's influenced me in my pieces.
Shawn and Shawn, which genre seem to be like sort of the lead into that music, hip hop or rap? I think hip hop.
Yeah, definitely hip hop. It started off with hip hop. You know what I mean? It becomes something.
Yeah, I wasn't sure.
All these other things. No, you can have. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even back in the day though, there was hardcore, but you had like RZA and the RZA and what's his crew? The Grave Diggers. You know what I mean? So you had like hardcore and stuff like that. And there's all these other genres of rap that exist. You know what I mean? Even if you had like the Jungle Brothers and stuff like that, which people and Tribe Called Quest, De La Soul, so Native Tongues. You know what I mean? So yeah, and then Hammer had a place in there. You know what I mean? And people and hip hop might have been like, oh, Hammer was whack back in the day. You know what I mean?
These are the breaks. Who did that?
These are the breaks.
Say again?
Curtis Blow.
Okay, yeah.
These, like, that was way ahead of the curve in terms of the beginning of that genre of music.
Continuously evolve, you know what I mean? I think for me, like, hip hop speaks more to the community, the streets, the real essence, and there's more of a feeling of like, let me pay attention to these lines. Let me have multiple layers. You know what I mean? And that's, I needed that for my soul, because there were certain songs I was saying, I was like, this is garbage. What is this? You know what I mean? But I had to realize that it's its own different entity, and it may not necessarily be for hip hoppers. You know what I mean? People who really like, who grew up on Nas and Wu-Tang and Eminem. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, punk rock and hip hop for me came out at the same time in my world. Like,
That's about right.
Two amazing energies.
Yeah.
You have a question?
Yes.
So what's
So-
your name? Wait.
Serene.
Serene. Tell us your question.
So do y'all find yourself listening to, like when y'all set in the mood to do your art, do y'all find yourself listening to a certain type of music, watching a show? How do you set the mood for yourself when you are creating?
Okay. I like how we always look at each other.
Yeah.
So you want to answer?
You're not holding your
Like there's a variety.
It's 20 minutes left.
There's a variety of different like musics I listen to for whatever I'm creating, and that goes to the question you was asking about how it influences. Like one of my huge influences from hip hop would be like Slum Village, and I used to listen to like a lot of their soundtracks. Like Jay Dilla was like a beat master, you know. I was even looking to him to even like produce like some soundtracks for my animations and stuff like that. But like I would listen to like him whenever I was working on projects like either Gunstar or my Clockhopper's Shiz, the one at the top and stuff like the different projects I was working on. But for my other projects like Oh Snap, I would listen to like groups like The Waves, like different rock groups like that, like classic rock, punk rock type stuff for different things. So it's like whatever I'm working on, I gotta hear the music for that. Like 15 Street Shorties, I would listen to like different anime songs, and Thundercat. I don't know if y'all familiar with like Thundercat, but like I listen to like some of his music. I'll listen to some of his music for like for whenever I'm working on my comics. So it's just different things, and a lot of old school stuff too, like Beach Boys and Tracy. You know, my wife knows. She be hearing me playing this stuff in the office. So. But yeah.
Yeah, for me it's a mix. It just depends. I would say 90% of it is probably more battle rap than I should listen to. But I like battle rap because it brings back to me the essence of that rap I used to like. Where, you know, there's people take it for granted. People think it's just like I'll shoot you, but it's like. There's the way he described how he was going to shoot him. I'm sorry, Shawn. I'm sorry. No, but there's a creativity there that is missing from mainstream rap right now. You know what I mean? So I listen to that. Just there's some, I don't know. Anybody a fan of battle rap? Yeah. Who you liking?
So definitely like Geechee Gotti, Arsenal, Disaster, like
K-Shine.
What? Yo, I did not. Harvey, come on. No, I did not expect you to know who K-Shine was. Yo, but you know what I mean? Like those. Geechee Gotti, you know what I mean? And then one of the in battle rap too, one of the pieces in your arsenal is if you can freestyle and rebuttal. You know what I mean? Like people forget the essence of hip hop, like freestyling. You know what I mean? Battle rap has so much of those elements in there that I miss that. So I listen to a lot of battle rap.
Thank you for the question and the answer for sure. Parallel worlds. All right, so I'm going to ask them about their future, and then we'll try to wrap up with a picture. Make sure that you're following us all as a collective, and we're going to follow you all back. So before we leave, we should all be having like 30 new followers or 40 new followers, right? Like y'all should be picking up some folks, and whoever else is online should be sharing us their friends and stuff. 'Cause I don't go live often, so this is a treat. All right, so my question to you, Parallel World Brothers, is looking ahead years in your careers as respective artists, and how do you plan to avoid?
I'm gonna say fast on
So the future, more stories, more products. That's I'm all about. I just got all these ideas in my head, and it's just I want to get it out there. So I know I probably got more ideas than time. I know you probably the same way, Shawn. So I'm thinking about putting out like I don't know the technical term for it, but it'd be like a pitch book, right? And it'd be like an image, like almost like a movie poster, and then like a little synopsis of it, just so it's out there. But yeah, I got more art books coming. I got some books that are dropping. Oh, and I just got, not that this is anything for real, but I just got published in an anthology from Dark Horse.
Oh, great. Nice, man.
Congratulations.
Listen. It sounds good, right? But it's just a chess move, because it's like, I'm just going to put on the
Everybody don't
resume.
play chess. Some of us are still.
But my thing is like,
Bro, I'm playing the connection board with y'all.
I don't like the fact that I don't like the fact that people put so much emphasis on, did you get published by a major though? You know what I mean? I would get the stories out there as long as people liking the work, and especially now with things like Kickstarters and GoFundMe and stuff, there's ways that you can get the money to put these products out. So I don't put too much stock in like, oh, you got published by this person, that person. But I just want to put out more content and yeah, hopefully inspire more people and stuff like that. So.
Okay. All right. And what about you, Tate?
Yeah, I just want to have, in the future, I would like to, one of my long-term goals is to like open up an animation studio here in Philly. Yeah. And hopefully, it seems like it may be headed that way eventually, but I would like to also get rid of the title for like all artists of color, black artists. We just want to be artists. You know what I mean? So like with my work, I'm hoping that people can look at my artwork and not just say, oh, he's a black artist or he does black art. Just say it's art. You know what I'm saying?
Not be classified.
I didn't even know about that. That's how naive I am.
Right, but yeah. So that's pretty much it for me. I would like to get the projects that I'm working on, like the books and everything like that, and Lord willing, like one of my books inspired people to seek God for salvation, accept Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior, and just be inspired to like see more books and learn more about history and stuff like that. I would like to have a Black History art book out touching on individuals that a lot of people don't get to learn about and that really existed. So
Okay, that's some. Both of you have some really great goals. Thank you so much for being a part of this. Thank you all for being our audience, coming out and celebrating with us. These two living artists. Give them their flowers while they're here.